Welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray on ESPN 790 AM. Brought to you proudly by Tennessee Wildlife Resource Agency, Barton Power Sports, Sportsman's Warehouse, and Best Care Home Services.
Hey, welcome back to Outdoors with Larry Ray as we close out today's show. I know in the past I said this, we close out the show and somebody thought we weren't coming back next week. Well, we don't really know, but we'll try to be back because it'll be open mic Saturday, and that means Brother Darrell will be here. Gene Smith back to back. I don't know if we can handle that, but
I've had my shots.
You have had your shots.
Yes.
I'm wondering where, but but Gene and Dave will be in next Saturday and taking your calls, and I'm assuming Greg Ratliff will be back because Stewart doesn't get up that early. He has done it before, though. You have done the early show. That's right. He has done open mic Saturday before. But thank you, and now we're going to turn this over because Charlie Covington with a little – now you said that the music was a little loud the last time. He actually – so lower the music, Stewart, as Charles – what's your middle name again?
M, initial M.
Is in what?
Mont, M-O-N-T.
Mott. Is Charles Mott Covington.
Just Charlie.
Just Charlie.
Charles Mott, just Charlie.
Oh, that's
Covington.
too sophisticated.
All right. Charlie Covington, tell us what you got over there as we bring a little music into this atmosphere. Turn the lights down.
Okay. You know, in our homes we have pets, and we have named our pets, and very often we consider our pets like a family member. Well, it's about like that on the farm because we'll have dogs and cats and so forth, and horses and cows, and we named them too. This poem is called The Farmer and Mr. Miller. With the sun at noon, we stopped our work, and I parked Mr. Miller under a tree. I filled his bucket from deep in the well, and I got several swigs for me. He needed a break, and I did too. I figured we were halfway done. This one mule tilling doesn't go very fast, and especially in the blistering sun. But all in all, pretty cool for a mule. I can give him directions just once. He listens to me and usually obeys. In school, he wouldn't have been a dunce. Mr. Miller's first name is simply Mike, and I've treated him with some respect. Never drove him hard or beat him, and I never showed him any harm or neglect. Mr. Miller just helps me with my work and has never once bucked or balked. Yet, unlike that one in the scripture, he never once has actually talked. Sometimes in the middle of the afternoon, he'll turn his head and look at me as if to say, "Could we have a break?" Then turn his head toward the big oak tree. Mr. Miller certainly isn't a dummy, and quite often I will give in. His sense of timing is good, I think, and he knows when there's hay in his bin. He has long brown ears and sleepy eyes, and the horseflies just give him fits. I know at times he gets real perturbed and must think, "Would you kiss my grits?" He wears his blinders when plowing to keep his focus straight ahead. The crows in the furrows don't distract. He keeps on looking forward instead. Some think Mr. Miller is my kinfolk because I speak of him so much. I refer to him as a good farm hand, running tillers for me and such. Without Mr. Miller and his help to me, I don't know what I would do. It's just hard to get good help these days, and Mike has proven to be one of a few.
All right. Charlie Covington. There you go. Listen to that ovation. Charlie, sit down. I mean,
Oh, yeah, that wasn't for me, was it?
It was. Thank you, Charlie. And we'll post that under Charlie Covington's poems on lroutdoors.com. And I want to ask you for a little bit, Charlie. A couple of people, I think it was your wife, maybe so. No, tell our listeners a little bit your background, because somebody asked me, who is Charlie Covington? So tell our listeners out there a little bit about where you grew up, how you got to school, and what you were doing, and how'd you get into writing poetry?
Oh, I grew up in Little Rock, Larry, and in college, I majored in psychology, and for a long time I thought that's what I wanted to be. But I can remember in high school thinking every now and then, gosh, it'd be nice to be a writer of some kind.
Mm-hmm.
And that really didn't develop until years later. I think I wrote my first poem about 1963, the year I was a senior in high school. And I wrote a few in college about different things, and maybe a few in seminary. But it was much later that I really started writing in earnest.
In earnest.
Yeah.
That could be the name of one of your poems.
Yeah.
So how many poems have you written now?
Oh, I don't have any idea.
How many?
Maybe 500.
500. That's what I'm
600.
saying. Yeah, and they come to you. The idea comes.
Sometimes quickly. Sometimes I have to mull over an idea a few days or a few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I worked in the hospital as a chaplain, I would see different things every day. Things with patients and people and staff persons. Some things were really funny. Some things were sad, but it's funny the source of the inspiration.
Yeah.
And I've tried to work a little humor in some of my poetry, and that's been hard for me because my wife is naturally funny. She's very humorous.
Yes.
She's a card.
Yes.
And I'm not that way naturally. Most of the time I'm serious.
Uh-huh.
I'm too reserved.
Yeah.
So I've had to work at that, and I like to have a little bit of humor in some of my poetry, whether I'm personifying an animal or talking about myself or a woodchuck out in the woods or whatever, you know.
And you were a chaplain at Baptist Hospital.
Sure was.
For how many years?
Well, in the Baptist system here in Memphis for 34 years.
Okay.
But then going back until 1973, that's when I began that.
That's when you began that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah. and your poetry, and we appreciate Charlie. You love the outdoors, though. You've had that.
Yes, I've always loved the outdoors: fishing, hunting, hiking, camping, birding, as we talked about this morning.
Yeah.
Outdoor photography. I just love to be outside.
And your son, Daniel in Portland, you just talked about earlier.
Right.
His job keeps him outside, doesn't it?
He does a lot of outside work. He's a wetland biologist.
Yeah.
And does a lot of riparian ecology assessment for a company. Riparian.
Okay.
Yeah. Just means the land around a watershed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which
I had to learn that term too.
Yeah, of course. He's in an area that's got a lot of that. A beautiful area in the Portland, in the Oregon section right there. So the inspiration for poetry, I know that a lot of our folks, and you can go to lroutdoors.com and hear Charlie's previous poems. He gives me copies of it and things along that line. And Charlie and I do go to the same church. That's Bartlett Hills Baptist Church, and have been friends. And he's right about his wife Betty. She's a card, as he said right there. I know we got a lot of things going on for all of us. And again, next week we'll have open mic Saturday. We'll be taking your calls. Probably giving away a subscription to the Mid-South Hunting and Fishing News and a $25 gift card to Avery. I know we'll get back on that next Saturday. Dave Gabbert will be in, and we're going to talk with Lisa Snuggs of the SEOPA, the Southeastern Outdoor Press Association. Not only does she just get into the Legends of the Hall of Fame, but she's also grew up in a fishing family and things along that line, and talk a little bit about SEOPA, and also she is now has 2 CDs that she's done. One about 20 years ago that she's brought back about fishing and all the things that go with fishing, and now she's got one out that will knock your socks off called No Regrets. And so we're going to have Lisa on next Saturday, and then also we're going to be talking. Is a big event's coming up is Jack Betchick. He is the Reserve Park Ranger for the city of Germantown. Their new youth education pond is getting ready to have a big day next Saturday, and I think, Gene, you and Dave are going to go out there to that. Is
yes.
What he's I've been out there to look at it, it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah, it's really neat. It's neat to open the kids' eyes to the outdoors.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
And that's what they're going to be doing. So we'll talk to Jack and then Gene and Dave. Too bad we don't have Jill. We could have Jack and Jill. But it's are heading out there, and that's on next Saturday. Of course, we'll get our monthly fishing report from the White River with Ron Brannaman. So we're setting up a lot of different things going on now that we get into October, and it won't be long till we'll be out in the woods. I can't wait for the hunting seasons and things along that line to get going. As far as busy schedules, I know Gene featured in the Mid-South Hunting and Fishing magazine. That they said it was a good picture of Gene, but they didn't know about the other guy standing next to him.
I appreciate that.
With me, and I hope you have a chance to pick up this issue, the October issue of the magazine. I have seen it, but it hasn't come out yet. But I enjoyed writing a story about the TWRA officers that we had in here on the show: Jeff Peach, Tim Ward, Andy Tweed, and Wade Hendren. We're all on the show. Had them all in the studio here. It's the safest I've ever felt. You know, they were all armed.
That was a good show.
Yeah, they were all armed and had a good time. I know you and Jeff, you've worked with Jeff before, and Andy
Correct.
for
And
sure.
Andy, yeah.
And Tim is the Lauderdale County, and of course Wade is the
Lieutenant, isn't he?
he's a lieutenant,
Yeah.
right under the there's Captain Buddy Bryan is the captain,
Right.
and then the major
The major, yeah.
is Brian Thompson. They have ranks like that.
Yes, they do.
Why don't we do that here?
Yeah, well,
what would I be? Would I be the
Lieutenant Colonel?
Lieutenant Colonel?
Yeah.
I think I'd be a buck private.
You a buck private?
Yeah.
I thought that was only Lewis and Costello, the buck private.
Well, how about just private?
Oh, yeah.
You're a private person? Yeah.
That reminds me of the
What
dentist.
would you be? Oh, here
That
he
reminds me
comes.
of the dentist I went to.
What
It
happened?
only cost me $1, and I wound up with buck teeth.
Oh my!
Got
oh
quiet,
my! Is
didn't
that? Well, I've got to close with this.
Yeah.
This is the one that really came out, and we got time for this, and we'll close on a happy note here. That this little kid brought his teacher a birthday present, and all the kids were bringing birthday presents to this teacher, and he came up and it was in a box. It was just in a box, and she said, but the box was wet. It looked like it had leaked or something. So she took one of her finger and rubbed it across there and said, Jack Daniels. And he said, no, ma'am, no, ma'am. She tried it one more time. She said, got to be Jim Beam. He said, no, ma'am. Well, what is it? He said, it's a puppy. Okay, that's it. Got to get out of here, Stuart. Thank you for taking care of us. This is Larry Ray reminding you to do each and every week. Doesn't cost an extra cent to be a good sport, and God bless the USA.
You can find out